Welcome to Caracomp Insider, where high-tech facial recognition meets real-world intelligence.
Three seconds of your voice. That's all it takes to build a copy convincing enough to fool the people who know you best. And a model that can do it in more than 600 languages just went open source. In May 2026, police in Ghana arrested 5 people for using AI-generated content to impersonate the country's president and solicit money from victims. This wasn't some crude phone scam. It was a coordinated operation using synthetic voice and deepfake video to pose as a head of state. And it happened the same week that Xiaomi, the Chinese tech giant, released Domni Voice, a voice cloning model anyone can download for free, supporting 646 languages. If you've ever left a voicemail, posted a video, or spoken on a conference call, your voice is already out there. Enough of it to clone. The question running through this entire story is simple. If your voice is no longer proof you're you, what is? Start with what happened in Ghana, because it isn't an isolated stunt. According to a 2025 report from TransUnion Africa, deepfake-linked fraud across the continent surged sevenfold in late 2024. Sevenfold, in a matter of months. The presidential impersonation ring was part of a much larger pattern. Organized networks running fraud operations across borders, treating voice cloning the way counterfeiters treat a printing press. It's a commodity now. And Ghana had already seen this coming. Back in September 2024, criminals used AI to replicate the voice of Bernard Avlay, one of the country's most recognizable broadcasters, and ran ads promoting a fake product, in his voice, without his knowledge. That wasn't a proof of concept. It was operational fraud, targeting a voice millions of people trusted. Now zoom out from Ghana. According to the FBI's 2025 Internet Crime Report, victims lost $893 million to AI-related scams that year alone. Nearly $1 billion. And that's just what got reported. Meanwhile, research from Pindrop, a voice security firm, estimates contact centers lost $12.5 billion to fraud in 2024, with more than 2.5 million fraud events logged. A lot of those losses rode in on synthetic voices that legacy phone systems couldn't catch. So what does the cloning actually require? According to multiple sources including Vectra AI, current tools can produce roughly an 85% voice match from just a few seconds of reference audio. 3 seconds. That's shorter than most voicemail greetings. And the tools to do it aren't locked behind paywalls or security clearances. According to Consumer Reports, 4 out of 6 voice cloning tools they tested in March 2025 had 0 safeguards. No consent checks, no identity verification, nothing. For anyone who handles identity verification professionally, fraud investigators, compliance teams, insurance adjusters, this guts a process many still depend on. Call to confirm has been a standard step in verification for decades. That step now has a hole in it wide enough to drive an entire criminal syndicate through. But this isn't only a professional problem. If someone calls your elderly parent and sounds exactly like you, panicked, asking for money, that parent isn't going to run a spectral analysis. They're going to wire the cash. The fraud infrastructure has gone industrial. According to researchers at Regula Forensics, criminals can now buy complete persona kits on demand: a synthetic face, a cloned voice, a fabricated digital history, even behavioral patterns trained to pass verification questions. That's not one clever scammer in a basement. That's a supply chain. Now, voice biometrics companies will point out that layered defenses still work. And statistically, they have a case. Pin drop. S data shows that in U.S. contact centers, a fraud attempt hits roughly every 46 seconds. But only about 1 in 600 calls is actually fraudulent. The vast majority still authenticate correctly when multiple layers are stacked together. 1 in 106 calls shows deepfake characteristics. So the system holds, most of the time, at scale. But an investigator doesn't work at scale. An investigator gets one call, maybe two, and has to decide whether the voice on the other end is real. There's no sample of 600 to average out. There's a single interaction and a judgment call against a voice that was built to pass. The real shift isn't that voice cloning exists. It's that the fastest method most organizations use to verify identity, a phone call, is now the easiest method for a criminal to forge. Speed used to be the advantage. Now it's the vulnerability. So, a voice cloning model now covers more than 600 languages and costs nothing to use. Criminals are already running industrialized fraud rings with it, from Ghana to U.S. contact centers. And the verification method most of us still rely on, hearing a familiar voice, no longer means what it used to. Whether you investigate fraud for a living or you're just someone whose mom might pick up the phone, this changes what trust sounds like. The full story's in the description if you want the deep dive.
Now you know something most people in this industry don't. Use it. And when you're ready to put it to work, Caracomp.com. We'll see you tomorrow.